a video just to show the wiring loom stripped down from the Ford Puma loom, which is going to be going into the Mk3 Fiesta with the engine, gearbox, fuel tank and all of that stuff. So we started with a full loom, as you would have seen in the previous pictures, and just stripped down everything we didn't need, took out ABS, aircon, all of that stuff, and just had to have the basic engine stuff left over. So inside the grommet you'll see the ECU plug, diagnostics plug, and a couple of earths. Some of them earths were actually on the other side of the grommet, but I've pulled them back to have them all in one place by the ECU. And then there's kind of a top and a bottom part to the loom where it goes to the multi-plugs. So up here, this is a late, I think it's a dive ECU 2001 Puma 1.7, which has two lambda sensors. So that's the lambda sensors that go off over to the exhaust manifold. These are the plugs then. So you have the crank, oil light, air temperature, alternator, all go into this multi-plug. This one goes down beside that then for the coil, a 3-pin plug, and we've got the lambda sensors there. There's a really long piece of loom which usually goes in front of the radiator along the front panel. It goes to this multi-plug, which I think goes to kind of the front or lower loom, which is the injectors, the cam sensor, crank sensor, I think all of that. But where the passenger headlight would normally be, just behind that is the MAF sensor, so that has to be picked up there. That's a 5-pin but only uses 4. They all go back straight to the ECU in there, and then the messy part then comes over from the ECU. Some of these wires I've actually extended from, because in this area would have been the original Puma fuse box and relay box. Now with this loom I'm going to bring all of those relays and fuses into the Mk3 Fiesta fuse box location, which is to the right of the steering wheel on the driver's side. So doing away with the Puma fuse box altogether and bringing all of those wires over to the Mk3 Fiesta fuse box location. So there was some wires in around this area that I've actually joined onto with the same colour wires and brought over this way, which will go from the passenger side under the dash and over to the driver's side under the dash. In that location there's the connections onto the dash clocks, but the only things that we're using from the Puma dash clocks is the oil light, the alternator light, and the rev counter we can use. Now there is no rev counter in the Mk3 Fiesta that we have, but I leave it there for in case we add one or use an RS Turbo dash clocks or something in the future. So the wires are all there. Now there's quite a lot of wires here as well, but I'm keeping the key transponder over that side. Hopefully I will be able to put that near the ignition key of the Fiesta, and maybe get a key cut with the Puma transponder in it, but that works in the Mk3 Fiesta ignition barrel. So I could maybe mount this around the Mk3 Fiesta ignition barrel and get a key cut that has the Puma transponder but the Fiesta door locks, ignition barrel, all of that, that'll all go in there. another couple of things that go back to the ECU, and I'm told the clutch switch is needed. So we will be mounting the Puma pedal box using the clutch switch, the hydraulic clutch, and we'll mount the Fiesta brake switch into that pedal box. So that clutch switch has to connect back to the ECU, because it can have issues. If it hasn't got that, then it has issues with stalling and maybe over revving when you come to junctions, apparently. So all of the switched earths from the ECU for the relays for the high-speed fan, low-speed fan, fuel pump, I think there's a couple of other bits as well. Those switched earths from the ECU are all over here, where they're going to connect into the relays in the Fiesta, hopefully using the Mk3 Fiesta fuse and relay box. At the moment, I've got the full fuel pump wiring from the Puma separate, because that will come along the driver's side in under the dash and connect to the relays and the fuel gauge in the dash, obviously. So that plug from the fuel pump is only 4 wires, 2 for the level sensor and an earth, and the purple and orange one there is the live from the relay to keep the pump. Now in this loom as well, I've done away with the fuel cut-off switch, just to simplify it. So that is just bypassed now, and I've done away with the start inhibit relay as well. I'll be using the Mk3 Fiesta starter trigger wire to simplify things again. And we obviously have then the PATs, the immobilizer, the key from the Puma. That's the only security parts staying in this loom, just to keep it nice and simple. Hopefully I will be doing another video to kind of explain this when it's laid into the car. We need to remove the engine and gearbox and get that fitted into the car, so we can lay this all out properly, do a test run, and make sure the engine actually starts. We haven't missed anything, so there'll be an update again when we have one. Okay, so just to explain the wires that will be connected under the dash, all the ones we have there. So a black one here for the oil pressure sensor in the dash. We've got the tacho for the rev counter, goes back to ECU pin 48. That one we may use in the future. So there's a switch live that goes to the lambda sensors. Both of them are connected to this wire, which will either go to a relay or fuse. The charge light from the alternator that goes to the dash. There's the switch live for the coil. There's the high-speed fan switched earth for switching the relay for the high-speed fan. Now we might only run the low-speed fan, that might not be used, but it's there if we need it. There's the 4 wires that go to the key transponder. So 2 of them are back to the ECU for the transponder, and one is a earth, the other one is a switch live. Then we've got the low speed cooling fan relay switched earth, that's switched from the ECU. There's the crank sensor, oil, air sensor switched live, that will go to a separate fuse. There's there's this one that I'm not sure of yet, but it's with the fuel pump feed, was on the cutoff switch, and it goes to pin 40 of the ECU. Just need to check exactly what that does, if we need it or not. Then there's the LED on the clock, which is for the immobilizer. We might run a little LED somewhere just to make sure that the immobilizer is working when we put the key in. There's the clutch switch. The brown one goes to the ECU. The black one is just an earth. And then there's a 15 amp fused switch live that goes over to either the sensors or the ECU. Check that one, so just another switch live. There's a 3 amp switch live that was going into the fuse box under the bonnet, and there's the switch stuff for the fuel pump relay. So as far as I know, that's all the wires that we need.